My name is Emily Miller. I'm a district resident, and I want to get a gun to protect myself. As I've been going through the gun registration process, I've documented every detail in my newspaper, the Washington Times. But today I'm here to testify as a private citizen about my personal views and experiences trying to get a legal gun in the city. I always knew getting a legal gun would be a challenge, but I had no idea it would be this frustrating and time-consuming and expensive and complicated. As of now, I'm in the 10-day waiting period to see if my registration application will be approved for a handgun. Or as I've tracked it, I have completed 14 of the 17 steps that the city requires to register a gun. For me, the safety class has been the biggest barrier to gun ownership in time, expense, and my personal safety. It took me a long time to find an instructor for the course. It seemed the district was making it as difficult as possible. As you know, the police give out a list of the certified instructors with only their names and their phone numbers listed. I called every single one of the 47 names on that list and only found 4 who were ready and able now to teach the class. Their prices range from $200 to $250. It doesn't say it in the registration packet, but from making the calls, I quickly learned that the instructors are not allowed to teach the course within the district city limits. I just don't understand how it can be constitutional that I have to go outside the district in order to exercise my Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms within the city. All of the instructors are in Maryland and Virginia and teach the class out of their homes, or more specifically, as one man said, in my basement. They all live 30 minutes to an hour drive away, and none were near a metro stop. I really don't know what a D.C. resident who doesn't have a car would do in order to take this mandatory class. Above all that, the biggest problem is being a woman and trying to find a way to feel safe while taking a class at a strange man's house. Since the list only gives the instructors phone numbers, but no important details such as address, website, or business affiliation, they are almost impossible to investigate. I don't believe it is right for the police to require me to go to an armed, strange man's house in another state. I already don't feel safe, and that's why I wanted to get a gun in the first place, and still do. Another huge hurdle in the gun registration process is buying the gun. Nowhere in the 22-page packet does it say that Charles Sykes is the only gun dealer in D.C. And since it is mandatory to use his services, because we aren't allowed to pick up the guns ourselves from stores in neighboring states, I think you should tell people in the instructions that they will have to pay his $125 transfer rate. Which brings me to the astronomical cost of registering a legal gun in the city. On top of Sykes' fees, I paid $225 for the class, $35 for range fees and ammunition. The passport photos cost $20. Then I paid the city $35 for fingerprints, $13 for gun registration, and $12 for the ballistics test. I have spent a total of $465 in fees for this gun registration process, and that doesn't include the cost of the gun. I had no idea that registering a gun would be this expensive. I think the registration packet should explain these costs up front and not just say $60. This is a lot of money for me, and I have a good job, so I really don't know how lower-income residents of this city could afford almost $500 in fees to register a legal handgun. Mr. Chairman, I was pleased to see that this bill your bill would have the police take the photos instead of our having to buy them ourselves, and you would eliminate the ballistics test. Those things would save us $32 in fees, but it would help more in saving time. And that's the other and final hurdle I want to mention today. It takes way too much time to get a gun legally in D.C. From taking the written test, the 5-hour class, waiting in line at the DMV to pay your fees, getting fingerprinted, meeting with Sykes to transfer the gun, and on and on and on. No one can register a gun in D.C. without taking at least 2 or 3 days off work. And as you know, the registry office is closed on weekends. Members of the committee, Mr. Chairman, in my opinion, this complicated process doesn't stop people from getting guns. It just drives them to get guns illegally because it's less expensive. I should say to get them illegally because it's faster and it's cheaper and it's a lot less frustrating. And I think you should encourage people like me who are trying to abide by the law by making this gun registration process less burdensome on the citizens. I've touched on some of my main issues with this registration process. My written testimony will give you a full perspective of what we go through. Thank you, sir, for this time.